Now, next coming up, we have the mother of the groom. We have Janice, and I think she's coming up with her brother John, Uncle John. And when I asked Janice a few questions in the course of my research, I was talking about what Hudsie did as a child, and she was telling me that he played a lot of squash and a lot of cricket, and he was involved in a lot of drama. And she mentioned this friend he had called Michael, and I thought, hang on, Michael. He's called Michael. He had this best friend called Michael. His best friend at the moment's called Michael. There's a Michael down there. There's a Michael over here. There's a Michael over here. I think we've got about 9 Michaels here tonight. He's called me Michael a number of times and then said, oh, sorry, I mean Daniel. I think he's trying to get me to change my name to Michael. If Hudsie asks you or calls you Michael or Mick or Mickey or Maiko or anything like that, you put him right, because I think he's trying to change the name of everybody he knows to Michael. Is that true? Oh. Oh. So here we have Janice and John, and I asked Janice what she said, what she thought about Megan, and she said that Megan is the loveliest person. She was so concerned when Megan first came around that the house was untidy and Megan was going to be, was going to think badly, but she needn't have worried because Megan's such a lovely person. Those were her words. So here we have Janice and John.
I'd just like to endorse what David said, and this is such a happy day for me and for all my family, and we're just so happy to have Megan in the Huddleston family, although I've felt that she's been in the Huddleston family for quite a long time, and I'm really lucky that I've had the chance to get to know her over the last few years. And I've almost lost count, but I think it's about 4 years. Anyway, I'd just like to say a few words about my lovely son. As David said about Megan, how proud he is of her, well, I'm very proud of Michael as well. And I really didn't know what Michael was going to do for his career, and he seemed to change direction. I think it was very difficult for Michael when his dad died, when he'd only just finished the 6th form year. And up till that time, he'd been very keen on soccer and squash and cricket, and every school holidays, when we lived in Newlands, the boys would all ring one another and they'd all be playing on the field just below our house. And I knew where they were, what they were up to and everything. But after Michael lost his dad, he seemed to have a change of direction. And he met people who were interested in drama, and he came home from school one day and said, oh, I think I'm going to join the 6th form drama class. And this seemed really strange because he seemed to have been keen on maths and gone to physics and things. And at that stage, he became quite interested in art and helping a Samoan friend whose name was actually Michael. And Michael Tuffery was really talented in art, but because he was partly Samoan, I think English was more difficult for him. And I thought my Michael should be studying for bursary, and I was being ambitious, wanted my son to do as well as he could in bursary, but what was he doing? He was skipping physics, I heard later, and going to the art class, and he was also coaching Michael in English because he knew that Michael had to get a certain level, I think it was 35 or something, for his UE, 35%. So it's been interesting to see how Michael's interests have changed, and when he first left school, he went down to Dunedin and he lived with my brother and sister-in-law. They were very good to him, giving him a home, because he wanted to do drama at that stage, and he'd got a fairly short-term contract with the Fortune Theatre. Anyway, that finished, and it didn't seem to lead to anything else. And I always remember that he came home sort of with his tail between his legs, so to speak, and he said to me, "Well, Mum, I'll do anything." I just wanted to try to become independent and to earn money. And I was looking through the paper, and I saw a job for delivering pizzas. And he said, well, he'd do anything. And so he applied for this job, and he got it. And I think on about his first day working for those pizza people, he had to deliver something to Putnam Street. And no one in the firm knew where Putnam Street was. But Michael said, "Oh, I know where it is." It was just fortunate that it was round the corner from where we were living at the time in Northland. But anyway, he's gone from one job to another, and then he eventually got a job on the news team for TV3, and that seemed quite exciting, because once I said to him, "Have you ever been in a helicopter?" He said, "Oh yes, that time we were chasing an escaped prisoner from Wanganui. They'd been driving along the road." I might have got this a bit wrong, Michael. But anyway, somehow they engaged a helicopter to take them to fly over the Wanganui prison and so on. And so I had always looked at TV1 news, but I couldn't even get... I couldn't even get TV3 where I lived because I was under a hill, and or very close to a hill, and I had to pay a lot of money, especially to get an aerial, so I could get TV3 and be able to look at the news. Then it didn't seem to me so long after that, I can't remember the length of time, when I was up at the beach on holiday once, and he came with this very important thing to tell me, that he was not going to work for TV3 anymore, but that there was a new firm had been formed, the 2Ds, I think they were called, and that they just sort of started out on their own, and their names both started with D, and there was a cameraman and a soundy, and they wanted another cameraman and soundy, and I was really anxious about this and wondered, you know, this is a pretty brave thing to do, because always having worked for a salary, that just scared me. But anyway, he did that, and over the years, he's sort of had these ambitions and always seems to have been able to live up to them. And then he told me that he wanted to go freelance, and I thought, oh, that's really scary. And then he went to Auckland, and I thought, well, he's got to try, and if he fails, well, at least he'll know he's tried. You can see I have a fairly negative outlook on on all these things. But anyway, it did work, and he stayed there for 4 years. In the meantime, he'd met Megan, and she actually went to Auckland with him for 2 years. But I think I'm so lucky that they both wanted to come back to Wellington, and they have come back to Wellington over a year ago, and they live just up the road from me. And so it's really great to have Megan and her family, and meeting them all and getting to know them over the years. So they've really made it very easy for me, and it's been such a happy day for me, and I hope it has been for everybody else. And